Alina never imagined motherhood would begin with silence. No congratulations. No partner holding her hand. Just the sound of her newborn daughter crying and the echo of her own doubts. She looked at that tiny face and felt something powerful and terrifying. This child depended on her, and deep down, she was not sure she could do it. The hospital discharge papers were still warm in her hands when reality hit. There was no one waiting at home. No grandma, no best friend, no village. It was just her and Sayla in a one-bedroom apartment on the east side of Atlanta. There were bottles to sterilize, wipes running out, sleep fading into hours she could no longer track, and worse, there were moments when Alina wondered if her daughter would have been better off with someone else. Someone who knew how to be a mother. She had no way of knowing that a quiet knock on the door would change everything. That the woman standing outside, a nurse named Grace, wasn't just making a routine visit. She was about to become the one person Alina didn't know she needed. Grace walked in with a calm presence and two gentle hands. But what she brought with her was something bigger: trust, patience, a plan, and slowly, visit after visit, something inside Alina began to shift. Sayla wasn't the only one growing. Still, even as her confidence bloomed, there were deeper struggles she kept hidden. How do you chase dreams when every diaper change feels like a mountain? What happens when the world sees you as just another young, single mom? When you know you were meant for more? Alina had no answers yet. But Grace wasn't just tracking milestones. She was unlocking parts of Alina that had been buried by fear. And the journey ahead, it was full of sacrifice, self-discovery, and a dream that had Sayla's name written all over it. What did Grace see in Alina that Alina couldn't yet see in herself? And what would happen when Alina finally realized what she was truly capable of? The city outside Alina's window never slowed down. Cars rushed, people passed, lights blinked. But inside that small apartment, time often stood still. Alina was 24. Her dreams once stretched wide across college campuses and art museums. She had planned on designing children's books, maybe even starting her own brand one day. But all of that paused the moment that test came back positive. She was not ready to become a mother. Not financially, not emotionally, and certainly not alone. Her daughter's father, Derek, had left before the second trimester in no fights. No long explanations. Just a text that said, "I am not built for this." That was the last thing he ever sent. Her own mother lived in another state already, raising two of Alina's younger siblings. Friends faded out one by one, replaced by baby monitors, pediatrician appointments, and quiet tears cried into worn-out blankets. Sayla, with her curly hair and searching eyes, gave Alina strength. But that strength came at a cost. There were nights when formula cans sat nearly empty, days when she skipped meals so her daughter would not have to, and moments when she stood in the shower, whispering affirmations to herself because no one else was there to offer them. Every time the rent came due, she held her breath. Every time the power flickered, she prayed it would stay on. And every time Sayla cried at 3 a.m., Alina rose, even when her legs trembled, because no one else would. She had no blueprint, no guidance, only love and fear. Still, somewhere inside that exhaustion, there was a flicker of fight. She wanted more for her daughter than survival. She wanted joy, security, a life with music and books and birthdays that felt like magic. That is when she saw the flyer in the community center laundry room. First steps, support for new mothers, in-home visits, real help, free. It felt too good to be true. But desperation leaves no room for pride. She filled out the form with shaky hands, not expecting much. Just someone who could tell her if she was doing things right. Someone who would not judge her worn sneakers or the laundry basket in the living room. 2 weeks later, there was a soft knock at the door. Grace walked in wearing a smile, a simple clipboard, and eyes that seemed to understand more than Alina had said. She did not come in like a savior. She came in like a witness. Grace listened more than she spoke. She made no promises, but something about her presence made the apartment feel less heavy. Still, Alina was cautious. She had been let down before. In this program, this stranger could be just another short-term fix. What kind of help could a nurse really offer in 2 hours every other week? And more importantly, could anyone truly understand what it meant to raise a child with no one behind you? Grace's first visit was quiet. She did not ask too many questions. She simply sat beside Alina on the worn-out couch, looked at baby Selah sleeping in her bassinet, and smiled like she truly meant it. She did not judge the dishes in the sink or the faint smell of baby wipes. She did not flinch when Alina admitted she was tired all the time, or that sometimes she cried without knowing why. Grace just nodded, like she understood. That alone made Alina breathe easier. On the second visit, Grace brought a soft measuring tape and a small baby scale. She weighed Selah, checked her heartbeat, and showed Alina a new way to burp her that worked better. It was a small thing, but Selah finally stopped spitting up so much. Alina had watched hundreds of videos online, trying to learn how to be a good mom. But nothing compared to the calm, steady way Grace showed her things. There were no lectures. No, you should already know this. Only kindness and practical help. When Alina said she struggled with feeding times, Grace helped her create a simple schedule that actually worked. When she said Selah cried a lot at night, Grace gently explained about sleep routines. And when Alina admitted that sometimes she was afraid she was failing, Grace looked her in the eyes and said, "You are already doing the hardest part. You are showing up." That moment stayed with Alina. Week after week, Grace returned, sometimes with fresh diapers or baby lotion donated by the clinic. Other times with nothing but a warm smile and an open ear. They would talk while Selah napped. Not always about parenting, sometimes about life. Grace told Alina stories about the other moms she had met. Never names, just gentle reminders that Alina was not alone. One afternoon, Alina made tea for both of them. It was the first time in months she had done something kind for herself or for someone else. "I feel different," she whispered. "Not like everything is fixed, but like, maybe I can do this." Grace smiled. "You are doing it." That sentence sat deep in Alina's chest. She held on to it in the hard moments, when Selah cried for hours, or when the fridge looked too empty. She started walking taller, speaking with more confidence. Even her smile returned, slowly but surely. It was not magic. Life was still hard, but something inside Alina had started to shift. She was not just surviving anymore. She was growing. But deep down, she still wondered, how long would Grace keep coming? Could this support really last? And what would happen if life threw something bigger her way? The flyer had been sitting on her kitchen counter for weeks, curled at the edges, a little stained by spilled formula. It was from a local beauty school, flexible hours, affordable classes, become a licensed cosmetologist. Every time Alina looked at it, her heart raced. She had always loved doing hair. Back in high school, she used to braid her friend's hair during lunch. It made her feel calm, in control, creative, like she had something to offer. But now, she was a single mom with barely enough time to shower. How could she possibly go back to school? She brought it up one afternoon when Grace came by. "I found this," she said quietly, handing over the flyer. Grace read it, then looked at her. "Do you want to do it?" "I do," Alina said. "But what if I'm being selfish? What if Selah needs me and I'm not there?" Grace leaned forward gently. "Alina, taking care of yourself is taking care of Selah. She needs a strong mom, one who believes in herself." Those words hit hard. Still, leaving Selah, even for a few hours, felt like letting go of her breath. Grace suggested they visit a local daycare together, just to see. The building was small but colorful. The air smelled like crayons and applesauce. Inside, children played, laughed, napped in tiny sleeping bags. A caregiver smiled and held Selah, rocking her gently. Alina stood still for a moment, watching her baby giggle in someone else's arms. It scared her, but it also gave her peace. Selah looked happy, safe, not forgotten. And that was the first time Alina truly believed she could try. The next week, she enrolled. The first few days were hard. She cried in the parking lot after drop-off. She missed Selah every minute. Her hands trembled when she picked up a comb again. But slowly, her confidence returned. She learned new techniques, practiced on mannequins, even made a friend named Kiara, another single mom just trying to build a future. Every day, she rushed from class to daycare, scooping Selah up into her arms, whispering, "I'm doing this for you." One evening, after Grace finished her weekly visit and stood by the door, Alina called out softly, "Wait." Grace turned back. "You're not just my nurse anymore," Alina said, voice shaking a little. "You're family." Grace's eyes softened. She stepped forward and hugged her. That moment meant more than any certificate or exam, because for the first time, Alina was not just surviving motherhood. She was beginning to shape her future, but deep down, a question still whispered. Could this new life really last? Could she give Sayla the kind of future she never had? Every morning before class, Alina would sit Sayla on a little pillow near the window. The sunlight would pour in, soft and golden. She started brushing Sayla's hair slowly, gently, tiny curls bouncing with each stroke. At first, it was just a routine. But soon, it became their thing. Bows, clips, beads, Alina tried them all. One day, she braided Sayla's hair into tiny hearts. Another day, she added pink ribbon curls. Sayla would giggle and look in the mirror like she knew she was special. And Alina? She felt something stirring inside her. This was not just about learning to survive anymore. That it was about becoming someone. One night, after Sayla fell asleep in her arms, Alina pulled out a notebook and wrote at the top of the page, 5-year dream plan. She smiled nervously. It sounded big. Maybe too big, but still, she wrote, get my cosmetology license, work at a real salon, save money, open a small studio, call it Sayla's Touch. Underneath, she drew a tiny logo, a comb and a crown. It made her heart beat faster. Grace saw the notebook during a weekend visit. She didn't say anything right away, just looked at the page and then looked at Alina. You've got something special here, she finally said. Don't let it go. Alina bit her lip. You really think I can do it? Grace nodded. I know you can. That night, Alina started sketching more ideas. A little play area inside the salon. A wall with pictures of clients smiling. Maybe a shelf with her own hair products someday, with Sayla's name on every bottle. The dream didn't feel so far anymore. It felt like a seed, planted, watered, and finally reaching toward the light. At IT school, her teachers noticed her talent. Kiara cheered her on during practice tests. And Grace kept showing up, bringing snacks, helping with daycare pickups, always reminding her that she was not alone. For the first time in a long time, Alina saw herself not as a single mom struggling to get by, but as a woman on a mission. But dreams are fragile, especially when life is still heavy. And just when things started falling into place, something unexpected happened that could change everything. Grace watched Alina one afternoon as they sat outside the daycare, waiting for Sayla to finish snack time. There was something different about her now. She stood taller. Her eyes didn't dart around with worry anymore. Her voice was steady. Her hands, once always fidgeting, now held her notebook with calm purpose. You've changed, Grace said gently. Alina looked up, a little surprised. Really? Grace smiled. You're not just trying to make it through the day anymore. You're building something. You believe in yourself now. Alina didn't respond right away, but later that evening, she noticed something simple and powerful. Sayla was brushing her toy doll's hair, just like Alina did each morning. She even hummed the same little tune Alina always sang. Then she carefully placed a ribbon in the doll's hair, clapped her hands, and said proudly, so pretty. Alina's breath caught in that tiny moment. She realized something big. Her daughter was copying her, not just her actions, but her energy, her effort, her love, and that meant something. I have to be someone worth watching, Alina whispered to herself. Not perfect, not without struggles, but present, focused, growing. That night, instead of studying, she made a new list in her notebook. Things I've learned. Being strong doesn't mean doing it alone. Small steps matter. My daughter is always watching. I'm not just surviving. I'm leading now. She drew a heart next to that last line. And for the first time in a long time, Alina didn't feel like she was waiting for life to start. She was living it, not in some big, flashy way, but in the everyday things. The early mornings, the school tests, the sticky baby kisses, the dreams written in pencil. And through it all, one quiet truth kept her steady. She was becoming the woman she had always needed. And now, Sayla had her. There was a soft knock at the door. Sayla's eyes lit up instantly. Nurse Grace, she squealed, racing across the small living room. Grace opened the door, arms wide. Sayla jumped into her hug without hesitation. Alina stood behind them, watching the moment with quiet gratitude. This wasn't just a visit, it was a full circle. Grace was the first person who saw Alina. not just as a struggling young mother, but as someone capable of more. And now, years later, here they were, Selah, healthy and joyful. Alina, stronger than she ever thought she could be. As they all sat down for tea, Selah proudly brought over a piece of paper from the fridge. My mommy's salon logo, she said, beaming. Grace held the paper like it was gold. Alina chuckled, wiping her hands on her apron. It's not open yet, but we're getting closer. Grace looked at her and nodded, her voice full of pride. You've already opened the most important door, Alina, the one to your future. Later that evening, as Selah drifted off to sleep, Alina stood by the window. She looked up at the stars and whispered, if it weren't for her, I don't know where I'd be. Then she turned to her daughter and smiled, whispering one more promise into the night. Right now, Mommy's got us.